Hello and welcome to our next video. In this lesson, we're going to go ahead and create our web project. So the first thing I want to make sure is that you have a place to store your projects. Now, when you do go to create a project, Visual Studio will default to your user directory. And so you could store your stuff there just fine. And if you're just messing around and learning this, that's just fine. You don't need to change your directory. But if you're looking to do more development, you want to keep a structure that's going to make sense and that you can easily find and move around. So I would suggest just creating a default root directory to store your projects. Here I've created msdev right on my C drive. Basically, I only did it on my C drive because this machine only has a C drive. It's a VirtualBox. Now, if you have a solid state drive, for example, on your C drive, and you want to use that for your speed, certainly understandable as well. Once you have your directory created, go ahead and create a new project in Visual Studio Community 2015. And we're going to create a web project, ASP.NET Web Application, and we're going to name it Contact Web. You can name it whatever you want as long as you can find it. And we're going to select OK. And we're going to select MVC for ASP.NET 4.6.1. And again, if you don't have these, go back and watch the video previous to this one where I talked about installing extensions and updates from the tools directory. So as this is set up, you can see authentication already says individual user accounts, and that's what we want. But I want to just show you, you could change your authentication here. You could go to no authentication, individual, work and school accounts such as your stuff that you're getting from a work or school organization, or Windows accounts such as your Active Directory if you're building internally for use within your own company. We're going to use individual user accounts, and we're going to do this via Facebook. So that'll be pretty cool. So we'll just say OK, even though it was already there. And basically, we're going to leave it as a web app, and we're not going to host it on Azure. We're actually going to use a different service to do our web hosting. That way we don't have to worry about paying fees to Azure. I believe there are some limited free accounts that you could use if you want to go the Azure route, but I can guarantee it's free if we do it through App Harbor, which we'll use later. So just one last thing, if you were doing other types, you can see other templates here, and you could also click for Web API if you're going to create a Web API. Now, we're not doing that for our course, but I just want to make sure that you're fully aware of everything you can see here. And just also note that if you wanted to make a core application, there will be core application templates here, and they may be named differently based on when you are actually doing this course, because these are release candidates and they are still changing, and I can already tell you ASP.NET 5 is going to be renamed to just ASP.NET Core. Let's select OK and continue and create our project. And what this will do is wire up our project, getting it ready to go. It has a bunch of stuff in it by default, and we're going to change that to make it a little more user-friendly and a little more standard for how the other developers might interact with our code. We'll do that in later versions, but right now it's just basically building the default project and putting everything in place for the configurations and conventions and things that need to be in place for our MVC project. And so here we can see that our project is up and running, and it's still going to add some stuff here as it builds packages restoring from NuGet that will allow us to be able to run the code. And it looks like it's ready to go. So we can see there are a lot of things here, and that may look a little daunting, but we're going to go through this as we build the project. Right now what I want to do is just hit F5, and this will run the project, and let's make sure that our ASP.NET application works out of the box before we make any modifications to it. And there we see our ASP.NET application is working. So we can click on Home, About, Contact, Register and Login we'll worry about later. I just want to show you that it is wired up with Bootstrap here. So if we move all the way over, we can see that we get our drop-down menu, and that is what it would look like on a smaller device, which is awesome. We're actually going to change a lot of this, but I wanted to show you that out of the box, it's going to work just like you would expect it to. So that wraps up our creation of the MVC application Contact Web that we'll be building throughout the course. Thank you very much. We'll see you next time.